Alright, hello everybody! Welcome back to another match here for the round of 16 for the Mania 4T World Cup 2022. We've got our final match here. We got the Czech Republic versus Germany as our final losers bracket match for the round of 16 before we get into our quarterfinal showcase and all of that goodness. But without further ado, I'm Toph Daddy, one of your commentators, joined by Orca for this final match here. How is it going?
It's going great. I'm excited to be here for the final match of round of 16. Also going to be sticking around for the map post showcase directly after this. So make sure after this match, guys, you don't leave. You stick around.
Yeah, we'll be shortly getting into that, but we have our rolls coming in. It looks like Grill Roasted got an 80 for the Czech Republic. We did not quite catch Germany's roll, but Germany did end up losing to that 80, so they will ban first. And honestly, I don't know what the strengths of these two teams are. I need to look back at their matches.
Yeah, I think we're looking mostly for rice bias stuff from both teams, probably. So we'll try to look out for some like counterpick. Yeah, like right there, banning one of the hybrids, Rokus. We'll see what Czech aims for. I'm honestly probably guessing an Ellen or a hybrid ban. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm looking to see what these counterpicks are going to be, because I think both teams kind of have similar skill sets. Though I'm not like 100% certain on that. We'll see if they try to like play at each other's weaknesses. With an SV2 ban, there's going to be one SV open. It's going to be Butterfly Twist the open pick.
So it looks honestly like Germany should have a relative upper hand in this match overall, but Czech Republic has shown some pretty strong scores comparatively on the on Almagesh from last round, which was the density long no pick. Yeah. So we could potentially see a bit of a rice focus from the Czech Republic, and then maybe if it comes down to it, we could see Dornwald, and then Germany's probably going to stick with the hybrids and the long note maps as their primary picks.
Yeah, it's certainly what we'll probably be looking at, Dornwald being that Ellen density pick here. So yeah, more similar to that. I don't know. We saw in our last match, I was just gonna say, with like Hong Kong versus Taiwan with the rice picks, is that some teams were kind of dancing around free L Town, so that stamina stuff, and sticking to the really short maps. So I'm interested in seeing if any of these teams play to the stamina portion, but it seems like we're going to see double Helix as our first pick.
Yeah, keeping with the shorter maps is the Czech Republic, hoping to find some breaks on the German side, and we're definitely going to want to be looking at Grill Roasted here for the Czech Republic, looking to carry their team to some points here and potentially a victory. But then you have players on the German side like Jake Zhu, who we see in right now, who's going to be absolutely going toe-to-toe with them. So it'll potentially just be a matchup versus the other four players in this match, unless we start seeing misses around the board. But I'm not exactly sure how I expect this kind of map to go. It's an interesting way to go for something like risky, like double Helix, right out of the gate from Czech Republic.
I like it. I like going for risky stuff early on. It's kind of the ice factor, you know, seeing how players warmed up for this match. Also getting kind of more challenging and like weird stuff out of the way first if you think you have an upper hand on it. Like I think actually Maxim is probably going to have a really good score on this. He scores very well on maps that are similar to this. I've seen him around on top 50s.
Yeah,
I think Germany's definitely going to have a good time on this.
On top of that, Maxim, having made it pretty far in soft 6, I want to say making it to group stage, which is pretty impressive, and having some really solid accuracy. It was pretty scary to watch, honestly.
For sure. Seems like we'll be hopping to this shortly once players get ready.
Yeah, and it looks like we're seeing the good lucks come out in chat. We have Grill Roasted, A Coney, and Shakti for the Czech Republic on map number 1. Jake Zhu, Nico Plays, and Maxim Yao looking to set things up for Germany on this first pick. Looking to either get that break point for Germany, or Czech Republic looking to defend their first pick and maintain a little bit of momentum after winning that roll.
Yeah, like you were saying, it certainly is a little bit risky, and obviously Czech Republic is not going to want to give a break point away on their first pick. So hopefully it's traditionally with this map, we've seen a lot of breaks very early on. The very first probably quarter of it has been tough, so we'll see how players do.
Yeah, there's a few specific patterns throughout this that are a little bit just scattered in general that can be very difficult to get good accuracy and also keep combo consistently on. We see one mirror coming out from Max and Meow, potentially mind blocking or preferring the longer jacks on the right hand because there's lots of those second column triple jacks like we just saw one there.
Yeah, Germany just falling a little bit early on in accuracy. Akoni being lowest in the lobby right now, but
Girl Roasted with Nico a little bit. Finding a combo drop, though. It's going to give Germany a little bit of leeway in this case where they have those triple full combos. Akoni dropping below the 99%. All three players on Germany above the 99.7 range. And Maximiao and Jixu absolutely demolishing this ahead of everyone on the Czech side. And Shakti following that up with a drop for their own. So we only have one full combo left on the side of the Czech Republic.
Yeah, Germany actually dropping a combo break there. Nico and honestly all of Germany staying pretty close together with those 99.7s and above, so this is really an uphill battle coming to the second half here. Shakti dropping a lot, it's not going to do much to try to bring it back in the Czech's favor, but Maxim trading.
Yeah, so that is now one full combo to one full combo on both sides, but the multiple misses from Shakti will still give Germany the ability to maintain their lead. And on top of just the overall accuracy advantage, Nico plays with the FC quite a bit ahead of Akoni, who has the FC on the Czech side, and that's really showing in this blue bar we see for the German side.
Yeah, more breaks not going to do a lot for them. Girl Roasted actually having the highest accuracy in the lobby right now, despite not having a full combo. Actually, no. Yeah, only Akoni left, and Shakti's still dropping here. Going to this last quarter, really needs to hold combo if they want to do anything for the Czech Republic.
Yeah, these constant misses definitely not doing much for them, especially on their own first pick, and it's not looking too good out of the gate for the Czech Republic. But we still do have this ending. We can wait potentially to see some players get B-mod in the ending. But noteworthy, we only have one FC left in this lobby right now. Akoni on the Czech side, the only FC going into this ending section. We'll see if they're able to hold on, despite the Czech side having a bit of a score deficit compared to Germany.
Certainly, yeah, and Girl Roasted putting up a great score here so far. Girl Roasted and Jixu going to be the top two in the lobby here as we come into these last couple measures. There we go. And so Germany is going to take that first break point from the Czech Republic by over 50,000 points there.
Indeed they are, and that's not the best omen for things to come from the Czech side if they were losing that first point to Germany here. But Germany will get their own pick, and I'm interested to see what kind of strategy they're going to be picking up here. Because we just did see them win on a Rice pick there pretty substantially, so we could definitely see them going into a more comfortable Rice pick if that's what they want to do. But the Czech Republic seems like already that they want to avoid long notes to a certain extent and hybrids, so that could also be another avenue to take for the German side.
Yeah, and Double Helix here is certainly one of the more technical picks, and I mean, coming from Girl Roasted, that ratio he had was insane. Just having that one miss, and so there's a lot of standout players on Czech Republic, so I definitely can see them maybe trying to go for a little bit simpler Rice, or maybe something not as like choke bait, probably not the correct term, but something like Rationalist or like Streaming Heart maybe. It's a little more simpler.
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely see that being the case. Looks like Germany is going to make sure that they have the right pick coming in. Maximio saying that they need to discuss their pick. As long as they get it in before the 122nd mark, they should be all right. But we've been seeing some teams having trouble getting their picks in before that 2-minute mark ends, and we actually had one randomized pick this weekend. It just so happened to land on the pick they were going to make anyways, but it was still pretty interesting.
Yeah, and those timers being very important for the players here. I think one thing a lot of times, specifically in Mania tournaments, that's kind of overshadowed is the act of, staying warm, not, like icing out your opponents or something, and deliberately picking your picks around being able to save your stamina and play to the detriment of the stamina of the other team. So I think as being in some simpler LN stuff can do that. Hopping right into the Joel pick, actually.
Set the world on fire, looking for some faster streams. This map is not easy. That BPM gets you to about 292 BPM streams, which, not too much higher than what we were seeing in round of 32. About 20 BPM higher of average stream pattern. but the cameljacking nature is just very, very difficult for this map and can really serve to mess you up if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, it's really important for players, specifically on these single stream picks. You kind of get into the flow of things, rotating your wrist, getting everything to be like smooth, but a lot of times you can lose focus once you're in that like zen zone. And so it's really easy to drop. And then once you drop in a pick like this, it's really easy to get a dirty drop and keep dropping CB rush. And so it's really important for players to stay focused.
Yeah, not just that. You often see with these kinds of mini trill-esque stream patterns where players are really able to go for higher accuracy than they would on a more flowy kind of stream pattern. But because these are such fast patterns and people are going to be going for accuracy on them as opposed to just making sure that they combo, it can be very, very easy to just trip up and also just use up all of your stamina early on. This is the kind of map that you can absolutely get destroyed if you don't have a game plan going into it.
Yeah, that is definitely the name of the game, is stamina here. I specifically find myself, if you're hitting too hard too early on, you can run out of stamina super quick. But also, you want to be able to push your accuracy a little bit. I mean, this is a tournament, right? You want to go for the best score you can get. So being able to find that balance between pushing your accuracy as much as you can without running out of, all the gas in the tank too early on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing the opening of these streams a little bit on the slower side, a little bit on the easier patterning side of things. For that intro, it looks like Germany is able to take a little bit of a lead as we start seeing some harder patterns. And A-Coney going to be the first combo drop just after the 400 combo mark. And like you said, just one break can lead to a bit of a combo, a CB rush. And we saw a bunch of accuracy drops after that one miss from A-Coney getting lost a little bit.
Yeah, Grill Roasted holding highest accuracy right now in the lobby. Started really high. It's been dropping a little bit down, but is hoping to hold that strong pillar foundation for the Czech Republic on this pick as Nico plays drops, and so does Maxim actually. So that's 2 drops now with A-Coney also giving one back. So the leads going to shift a little bit back into the red, but not by too much. Czech definitely going to want to pick it up a little bit here.
Yeah, and we've got one full combo to 2. Just like in the previous pick, the Czech Republic able to hold onto their combo more, but that accuracy difference, the 99 across the board for Germany, allowing them to hold onto the lead despite Grill Roasted's incredible accuracy right now. But that lead's a little bit smaller than what we were seeing on Double Helix, so a couple more misses from the German side could definitely lead to some score swinging.
Yeah, Czech Republic definitely going to be looking at A-Coney to hold that combo there, even if the accuracy drops a little bit, and just praying that Germany drops and Nico does actually drop here, losing that combo scoring, but Shakti actually answering that. So the lead's actually shifting a little bit more in Germany's favor here coming to the last little bit of the map.
Yeah, we're getting into these final streams. Shakti finding yet another miss, only serving to potentially lock in this pick for Germany and bring it to a 2-0 marker on their own pick, successfully defending it and getting themselves some even more momentum after getting that early break point on Double Helix.
Yeah, nerves can definitely get you on this pick. Germany held together really well, played good as a team. Those accuracies are all pretty similar. Czech Republic just had Shakti and A-Coney just getting a little bit of drop sections and then being a little bit uncomfortable with some stuff.
Yeah, and it was an interesting pick to come out of Germany as well, because Czech Republic went with a Rice techie kind of pick, and Germany answered right back with a Rice pick of their own. So we could potentially be seeing all Rice and just waiting to see which of these two teams decides to dig into the hybrid and long note pools, or maybe even the SV pool before the other team, and see who potentially ends up with their backs against the wall.
Yep. Yeah, I think SV pick's probably going to stay there, as maybe if Czech goes down a couple more points, it's kind of, it is that wild card. They can pick it if they just want to, roll the dice, see if they can get a point off and maybe get some momentum back in their favor. But yeah, I mean, a couple of Rice picks we haven't really seen a lot is Free L-Town. We're actually Streaming Heart and Stand Aloof, Traveler. Those 3 have been picked pretty consistently, actually, so it's kind of surprising to see Double Helix and Set the World on Fire come out super early.
Yeah, but it is the Czech Republic's turn. We'll be waiting for Grill Roasted to come out with the decision. I could expect to see something like Rationalist or Stand Aloof come out just because of their first pick of Double Helix. But like I said, they might already have a little bit of their back to the wall, so they could potentially want to dig into either the hybrid or Londo pool just to kind of test the waters and see if that's a better avenue for them to potentially take some points from Germany.
Yeah, I could definitely see Czech Republic maybe wanting to go with something like Angel's Ladder, possibly, but actually going with Free L Town, it seems. The SpongeBob map, as Grow Roasted says. Yeah, so this is the, I think, longest in the pool other than the tiebreaker.
I think it's longer than the tiebreaker.
Is it really longer than the tiebreaker? Wow.
Drain time-wise, yes. Actual length, barely not.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, so this is certainly the stamina tester.
Stamina tester has a few breaks though, so you don't even have to have like exceptional stamina to keep up with this. It's mostly about keeping your consistency up with 221 or 220 BPM jump stream patterns, especially with that OD 8.5, really making sure that you have that accuracy on point for the entire time.
Yeah, Groros has had very decent rice scores here so far, being able to keep up with the best from Germany. So maybe playing this, Groros is going to want to put up a really good score, and maybe he thinks that his teammates can handle his stamina and keep up their ratios. I mean, ratios have been pretty similar. It's just been that 200 count has really been doing Czech Republic in on these rice picks.
Yeah, that and the miscounts. There have been a few. Akoni and Shakti have been having a little bit of a combo issue on some of these maps, but Germany has also not been too comfortable when it came to the combo game. We saw Jaksu and Maxim missing on, actually all three of the German players missing on Double Helix, and two of the players actually missing on Set the World on Fire. So there is an opportunity for combo breaks to be happening, and especially on a map as long as this, that opportunity is going to be multiplied just a little bit.
Yeah. And this is, if any map was the nerves tester, I would say it's a stamina map like this, the longer one. Because opposed to the stream pick, the Joel pick, right? You kind of get into that flow, and it's easy to CB rush. It's similar with this, but it's longer and in a way where the patterning isn't really the problem, or like the physicality necessarily, but the stamina side. And so we'll see if players are able to lock in and stay locked in for the entirety of this pick.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of players able to keep up with their stamina, but you never know when someone's stamina is just going to start dying, and you can definitely start seeing that kind of stuff happening, especially in the third big jump stream section in this map, where the accuracy bars that you can see at the bottom of their playfields start to widen just a little bit as they're trying to hold on through the final bit of the chart. But we'll have to wait and see if that happens to any of these players as we start approaching the first jump stream section.
Yeah, Maxim Meow actually MFCing the first 140 notes there, and still holding very good accuracy, but it seems like players are going to start stabilizing here. Grill Roasted, Jixu, and Maxim are the three players above 99.9 here for their teams. So lead is going to favor Germany a little bit, and Shakti dropping so early here actually. Going to make that blue line grow even bigger.
Yeah, and just look at all the accuracies. A lot more consistent across the board than what we were seeing on the previous two picks. Shakti at the lowest accuracy, still holding on to that 99.3 range. Grill Rose, but that's an awkward miss from ERA Medium Keck there. A pretty clean miss because it was in the break, but there was a 200 shortly after that. And that is going to shrink that lead that Germany has just a little bit, but the accuracy advantage should still favor the German side, so they should be able to hold on to the lead once Medium Keck gets back up to the 400 combo mark.
Yeah, I believe Medium Keck actually said in chat that he wasn't warmed up for this. And we can see that now as he dropping again. Yeah, being not warmed up for a stamina pick is very, very dangerous, because you want to be able to get your combo above that 400 and keep it there. But if you're not warmed up and your stamina starts dying, just chain drops.
Yeah, not to mention, if you look at that distribution bar at the bottom, it looks like Medium Keck is actually hitting a little bit early on top of that in some cases. I think they were just having a little bit of trouble bringing back their focus for the section, but the accuracies and combos are back up to the 400 combo mark. Everyone stabilizing out, and the Czech Republic holding onto a lead as a result of those couple of breaks from Medium Keck, but the other 4 players that have not missed looking very solid halfway through, but that is another miss from the German side on Medium Keck, going into the break yet again. Just one more jump stream section left, and the consistency on the Czech Republic side might just be enough to hold on to the lead as long as they're able to get through this final section without any major issues.
Yeah, Czech Republic certainly are not in the clear here yet. Grill Roasted holding a really great score, currently being the accuracy leader for their team. But yeah, that red bar, I mean, it's not really that big. And Czech Republic, while they do have all of these really big combos, it's really easy for one of them to just drop, and then lead goes right back into Germany's favor. So they really, really need to hold on to these combos.
Absolutely. Not to mention that I think the accuracy advantage is in favor of Germany, but that's a miss from Akoni, and that's going to shrink the red bar almost immediately, and we're already seeing Germany take over the lead off of that miss.
Czech Republic really need a miracle here. Let's see if looking at Medium Keck to hold that combo for Germany. Maxim and Jixu still holding FCs with really, really good ratios as well.
Yeah, we're seeing that lead increase and increase. Akoni back up to the 400 combo mark, so they're not losing any combo advantage anymore. But this jump stream section is about to end. We're going into more of the broken section, and it's a little bit easier from here on out. And we're all looking at basically just Medium Keck making sure that they're capable, and it looks like their distribution bar was actually able to stabilize out just a little bit going into that final stream. It looks like Germany, by the skin of their teeth, will be able to take another break point.
Yeah, Grill Roasted definitely putting up a great score for the Czech Republic. And also, honestly, Shakti and Akoni performing very well. Medium Keck not necessarily being fully warmed up, but it seems like they warmed up during the actual pick and able to handle this ending here. So that is going to be Germany's
Grill Roasted
point.
actually finding a miss right at the end.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Unfortunate for them. A V1SS outside of the miss, and a V1SS from Jixu as well, who will take that MVP slot. But a very solid set of scores from everyone here. 3 990K scores, but that is going to be a second breakpoint for the German side, as it is their own pick here. And I mean, we've had 3 rice picks in a row. There's 3 more open. If Germany wants to, they could just go for another one here.
That is fair. Coming out of a stamina pick, though, it could be a little... I mean, a full match of rice, that's going to destroy your hands, right? And so Germany, maybe they're calling Czech's bluff. Maybe they think that the Czech Republic are getting tired out and they want to push themselves more with more rice. Or maybe they themselves are tired and they want to kind of default to that Ellen. Maybe go with a Dornwald pick.
If I was Germany in this case and I wanted to go for a long note pick, I would potentially go with Sludge.
Sludge instead. Is the more
especially
control.
It's control and a little bit more on that front of if they're trying to calm their hands down, stop their fingers from like hurting too much and using so much stamina. Sludge is definitely the pick to go with, just because of how straightforward in terms of like rhythm it is with like the slow hands and everything. It's just about focusing on the releases in that case. But Streaming Heart coming out, we're going for a 4th rice pick in a row for this match. Going from slower jump stream to faster trill-based jump stream. And we'll have to... I'm actually kind of interested to see how this ends up going, see if Medium Keck feels better about their warm-up going into this map, or if they're even going to be staying in for this.
Yeah, this is a really interesting pick. Like you were saying, very trilly, faster, a little bit denser. Still OD 8.5 for these players. Coming out of the stamina pick, and I mean, playing Rice for this whole match, your hands have to be kind of getting there a little bit, depending on how your stamina is feeling. We'll have to see if players can handle this still. Seems like we're going to be hopping to this shortly once players are already up. Definitely looking at Czech Republic, Akoni, and Shakti to be able to hold combos throughout these. I think their work is definitely cut out for them on this pick.
It definitely is, and we're not seeing any swap outs after Free L-Town going into Streaming Hard, just waiting for the ready ups for our ref. And, communication issues looks like coming from there. Medium Keck is going to swap out there, just waiting for the replacement on the German side before we get into map number 4.
Yeah, that is understandable coming out of, I mean, if your warm-up was Free L-Town, that's... Maybe you're not feeling the best, so maybe a good move by Germany here to swap out for Cywin.
Yeah, Cylon coming in for the replacement. Looks like that might be the only swap out we're seeing from either team. And we should be able to see... I mean, again, interesting enough, we saw some mistakes from Medium Cat come out on the previous jump stream pick. Cylon comes in to replace them, and I'm interested to see how the German side is going to be able to hold up on the slightly faster, and potentially more interested to see how the Czech Republic holds up as that BPM increases, because we were seeing some minor combo issues from both Shakti and Akoni from the previous map, but this one is a lot shorter, so they don't have to keep that focus up for quite as long. And Akoni not loading in.
We'll make sure they get in. Yeah, Grill Roasted being that pillar for Czech Republic so far, putting up unreal scores on every single pick so far. I think taking MVP on one of them as well. Almost having MVP on Free L-Town, just having that miss at the end. So yeah, a really good stable pillar for Czech Republic. Akoni's going to have a little bit of a solo here while we wait.
Yeah, just waiting for them to catch up to everyone else, and here we go, starting to catch up. The bar is already a little bit... I think that's a real miss from Grill Roasted already out of the gate.
I like it.
And Germany is going to come out of the intro with a very slight lead just based on that. But in terms of where to miss, that is a pretty good spot to do it. Before the 400 combo mark, won't have the full ramifications of a miss compared to now from anyone else, since they are above the 400 combo mark now.
Yep, and so once Grill Roasted hits that 400 combo, it's going to stabilize, and it's all about the accuracy battle until players miss. Which right now, Germany is certainly winning that accuracy battle. Jixu having a 99.92 so far, quarter in.
Yeah, Max and Meow not too far behind at that 99.9. Grill Roasted even with the miss at a 99.8. So some solid accuracies across the board. Lowest right now is Akoni with that 99.58, which is not even too far behind. So a miss from Germany could definitely help get Czech Republic back into this match.
Yeah, the name of the game is definitely keeping that combo. Akoni and Shakti looking at those two players to keep their FCs for the Czech Republic, since Grill Roasted has dropped theirs, but they all want to keep all of their combos. And so you can't really affect what the other team does, but you can hope. You know, Czech Republic can hope that Germany drops somewhere in the sea of these dense jump streams.
Yeah, and we've just gotten past the the longer trill section. No major accuracy drops from anyone. Still just the one combo drop coming out from Grill Roasted early on. And we get into the final transition section that'll get us ready to go into the last course, where those patterns get just a little bit denser at the end. Definitely could be an opportunity for Germany to find some misses for Czech Republic to start coming back, but really at this point it's all on Germany's hands. They have all the control in whether they take this point here.
Yeah, Germany's definitely not out of the blue yet. You still have a couple measures, a little section here at the end. Czech Republic just needs to hold on and see if a catastrophe happens. But it's looking more and more unlikely as these players speed through this, and Shakti actually dropping that FC for their team, and that is going to be the nail in the coffin here. Germany is going to take this point, it seems, to be up 4-0.
Yeah, that's going to look like a triple full combo for the German side. Grill Roasted, the only full combo on the Czech Republic side, but really, really good accuracies all around. And oh, actually, sorry. Akoni was the only FC in the Czech Republic side because of that miss early on from Grill Roasted. But regardless, that is going to be an extremely good team score from Germany. But Czech Republic does have the pick and the opportunity to go with what they want to see if they can get this point and stop Germany from getting to break point too early. Or, sorry, not break point, match point too early.
Yep. Yeah, all the momentum is against them right now. So I think it's important for Czech Republic to mix it up with something different. I mean, we've seen 4 rice picks. I think the Czech Republic definitely will want to get out of that rice pool. I mean, time and time again, they've been shown to... Oh, and actually...
There's Sludge. We're looking at an LN pick coming in here for the Czech side. You are correct. They are going to be going for something different. Want to get out of that rice pool, and I think Sludge is the right choice to go for. Both teams a little bit pensive about going into anything but rice. And when your back's against the wall, you just have to be able to make that decision to potentially attack a weakness of your opponent.
Certainly. I'm excited to see Wake Hops from Czech Republic here. First point they're going to play for this match. And like I was going to mention it earlier with that pick, and Free L-Town is Grill Roasted's been having the best actual ratio in most of the picks, but then it's having that like one miss issue. It seems like they're flagging every rice pick. And I'm wondering if like there's nerves involved and if maybe they're trying to reset it with sludge. So we'll have to see how they do on this pick as well for Czech Republic. We're waiting for Maxim to come back to their PC, and then we should be good to go with this first Ellen pick of the match.
No, Maxim seems to not be at their PC, according to Medium Kick. Oh, they're kicked out. Medium Kick takes the place, and it looks like we might be seeing Cywin, Jigsaw, and Medium Kick in for Germany on this pick. Awake Hops having their debut for round of 16 here, along with Grill Roasted and Shakti staying in from the previous picks. And looks like we see the settings. Should be getting that start command coming in very soon for pick number 5 here.
Yep. Yeah, definitely looking at Awake Hops to perform here, and their first pick of this. Shakti and Grill Roasted so far being in for the entire match. I believe Jigsaw as well being in for the entire match. So we'll have to see how the stamina is feeling. Gonna kind of switch gears here with a more control-based LN pick after playing 4 rice picks in a row. Seems like we will be starting soon.
Yep, there's the start command, and we are getting in there for this map. First long note pick in this match. First non-rice map in this match. And it's going to be the very difficult coordination LN map by Crew K, and I'm really interested to see how these two teams are able to perform, because this map is not easy at all.
Yeah, certainly. And Crew K definitely has a really interesting style for mapping LN, similar to this. One that I kind of
Cywin.
Oh wait, maybe. Okay, I think. Yeah, waiting.
Are we aborting again, or are we not again? But are we aborting? Are we
to reset? We'll see. We'll see what the ref calls for this. But yeah, I mean, if we do end up resetting this preview, like I was saying, like a similar map by Crew K is there's a map he made called Astrid. Kind of reminds me with like a bunch of the quad with the delayed releases and stuff. We see it a lot in a lot of his maps. Stuff like this. Exactly. It's definitely reminiscent of a lot of Crew K's maps.
Yeah, absolutely. Still no Cywin, but I don't know. Are we? I'm waiting for the call from the ref to abort.
Yeah.
I think we are going to get an abort here.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the score is even being calculated with this player missing. Grill Roasted, though, I mean, playing this out, having a really great score here, showing up on this
Yeah, that is insane.
I wonder.
Are we gonna go? Are we not aborting this? I have no idea what's going on. That doesn't make sense.
I'm wondering if Cywin is playing the map somehow. I don't know. I think it's calculating his score as a 1 mil so far.
Yeah, no, Cywin just didn't load in. Cywin didn't even load into the map. What is going on?
I'm wondering if they might have DC'd multiple times and they called it, maybe? I don't know. We'll have the ref's word on this. But if it goes out, I do believe, if this plays out, then I do believe that would be a point for Czech Republic. Even though on the stream it said that Germany won that. It's very possible Cywin bugged out, but we didn't know it because you didn't DC on my end. So I'm wondering if the referee saw Cywin playing.
I have no idea. We didn't even have them in. It does look like, yeah, replay is in order on this case. I can't believe that went all the way in, all the way through. That I don't remember. I don't know if that's ever happened, that we've played a map all the way through, followed by a replay.
Yeah, I mean, they said that warm-ups weren't in MWC, but I mean, I guess this counts as one.
Well, now I guess that we know 5 of the capabilities of the players.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully they're able to put up similar scores. I think Czech Republic had some really great scores, just some drops. I wasn't really paying too much attention. Real Roasted obviously putting up an insane score there. So hopefully they're able to do it again for their team.
Okay, Cywin actually did load in this time. We got all 6 players ready.
Let's go.
This is good. We were able to reset the game because Cywin ended up not fully loading in from the start of the map, so it does count as early enough to get that replay. So no worries on this side.
Yeah, now we need to get double the cat gems in chat here for the second playthrough of Sludge. See, Shakti and Awake Hops dropping a lot of accuracy really early on, hoping that they're able to stabilize this. All players from Germany holding pretty strong.
Yeah, Awake Hops is starting to build that accuracy back up. Shakti a little bit more consistent at the low 98 range. Grill Roasted destroying this intro, but all of Germany staying pretty consistent from the first bit of the map as we get into the more difficult releases. And Germany holding on to a pretty solid lead right now, but the Czech Republic not staying too far behind for this, staying consistent. Shakti even increasing their accuracy after that section. And Grill Roasted still 99.9.
Yeah, this is certainly a combo game so far in this map. We're kind of just waiting to see, who's going to be the first to drop, if anyone. But right now, Germany holding really strong with that accuracy.
Yeah, we're not seeing any combo drops. That very difficult section out of the way, and it looks like Germany even extended their lead. 6 full combos through this point, and we have one more really difficult release-based section coming up. Shakti dropping down to the low 98s. Awake Hops staying at the high 98s, and that is a miss from Awake Hops, and that's going to help Germany maintain the lead here.
Yeah, coming in with about a 30,000 point lead. Germany has Grill Roast still holding very, very strong currently with the best score in the lobby. Germany, though, as a team, playing really well together, keeping all their combos. If they can FC this out, then this will definitely go in their favor. Just need to play it out to the end. Don't get distracted.
Yeah, this ending bit a little bit easier on the release side of things, so it looks like Germany should be able to hold on to their lead as we get into the final patterns. And Germany going to take yet another breakpoint in this match and bring it to the match point on their own pick.
Yeah, this match also going to 5-0. Like we saw similar last match with Taiwan and Hong Kong, also going to a 5-0 match point for Hong Kong there. So we'll see if they're able to close this out, or if Czech Republic can get a little bit of momentum back and maybe win a break point here.
Yeah, and like you said, it is Germany's pick. There are 2 Rice picks they've been super comfortable on for this entire match. Jakesu and Grill Roasted both destroying Sludge there. Medium Keck not too far behind, but we are just going to have to wait for what Germany wants to go with. We haven't seen any hybrids coming out, and SV1 looks like the pick, as we see Jakesu and Cywin, I think was their name, swapping out from the German side immediately. And digging into some more non-Rice to potentially finish off this match. ERA Punish coming in.
Yeah, Punish, definitely a really strong SV player for the Czech Republic.
They are not Czech.
Oh wait, they are not Czech. Punish, because era.
Punish is a German player.
But also a very good SV player. They participated in SVSE over the summer. So it does make sense that they would swap in for this. This map being a fair bit longer, being a little over 3 minutes and having really high combo count.
Yeah, absolutely. And looks like we have the primary 3 in for the Czech Republic. Akoni, Grill Roasted, and Shakti being in for them on this SV pick. And we'll see if Germany they're confident enough to pick it as their potentially last point in this match. But we'll have to see if the Czech Republic practice enough to potentially give Germany a run for their money here.
Yeah, SV is that wild card. It's hard to really know where you stand up against the opposing team. Necessarily in scores. So they are just kind of praying for this, but if Czech Republic can take this point and get a little momentum back, they could maybe play a little bit of the hybrid angle and see if they maybe have the advantage on the rest of the pool. But we'll have to see how they do on this pick first. Hopping into this in about 5 seconds.
And here we go. We're waiting for the 2 ERAs for Germany. Punish loads in. Okay, looks like we have all 6 players in for SV1. No worries on this one. We'll see how these players are able to perform On a bit of a wild card pick, there was the ban on SV2 from the Czech Republic, but they probably knew they were going to be banning that out of the gate. So you always got to put that practice in for one of them. In this intro, treating Germany just a little bit better than the Czech Republic here, with Akoni dropping a little bit of accuracy. And now those jumps getting Shakti caught out a little bit, but Medium Keck and Akoni both dropping combo there, but a little bit more significant of an accuracy drop from Akoni's side there.
Yeah, Maximum holding a really great accuracy here. Akoni just dropping below that S rank a little bit, holding around 95%. This map has a lot of differing rhythms, a lot of syncopated stuff, so if you're not used to how the song sounds, and if you haven't really grind it out in practice, and it's going to be really hard to hold on. It seems like Grow Roasted for their team, and also Shakti holding good combos, FCs so far for 4 of the players.
Yeah, we're seeing a roughly 40,000 point difference between these two teams already after that first section. They'll be transitioning into the second really difficult SV section very soon. We'll have to see how these players are able to hold themselves up, but if they were, I would expect them to be able to do about as well as they did in the early section. The only part of this map that I think is going to be really interesting to watch from here on out is going to be that final bit of SV that gets really tough.
Yeah, the ending is a little bit loaded. Definitely a test for the players. Plenty of space still left in this map, though. I mean, only a little over halfway through. So plenty of space for Czech to earn some points back. They're able to hold these combos, build up their accuracy a little bit.
Yeah, but Shakti with that miss is going to help Germany solidify their lead that they currently have, and it looks like it is extended to about 80,000 going into the final third, and there would have to be a pretty big mistakes, or multiple pretty big mistakes coming from Germany in this ending section to help Czech Republic get back in this, but their consistency has been extremely strong. Medium Keck with the one miss early on, Akoni having dropped right there. No trades in sight from the German side, and it looks very, very strong as a final pick for Germany here.
Yeah, Maxim holding a really great score here so far. Yeah, with SV, it's easy to tell when people just haven't practiced, so it is certainly that wild pick, and I do commend Czech Republic for shooting that angle shot to try to earn a point back. Akoni, it seems so. I believe actually is sight reading this, which, if so, I mean, if they can get an S rank on a sight read, that's fairly good.
Yeah, this ending is real rough, though. Like we were mentioning earlier, they're just barely holding on to that S rank up to this point, continuing to drop a little bit of accuracy. And those long notes definitely will catch you off guard if you're not ready for them. And unfortunately, not able to hold on to the S rank there. But Germany will take out the brooms, sweeping the Czech Republic for this final match and move on in the losers bracket. And unfortunately, with that, the Czech Republic is knocked out of the tournament.
Yep, another lower bracket sweep here. Last one being Hong Kong, sweeping Taiwan. And, I mean, Czech Republic tried to play that Rice angle. I think a little bit of nerves, a little bit of just they weren't as comfortable on these picks. But it was fairly close. I mean, Grow Roasted getting MVP or 2, just having some chokes. But overall, unreal performance from both teams. Czech Republic, those Rice scores were certainly insane. Germany just having a little bit of that upper hand and being able to earn those points. So they will take this win in 6-0 fashion.
Yeah, and like I said, they will move on in the losers bracket to the quarterfinal stage, where they will face China, which is a real tough opponent to see coming at you in losers bracket. That's a hard one to look at, but they will have to do their best to put up a performance against China to, move further on in this tournament. And unfortunately for the Czech Republic, they will no longer be joining us for the rest of the World Cup, coming in with a 25th, tied for 25th placement for that. But that is our final match for this weekend in the round of 16 for the Forky World Cup 2022. All that's left now is just the map pool showcase for the quarterfinals, which should be happening in about 16 minutes. I don't believe we will be closing out this stream as we prepare everything, but make sure to stick around because it's going to be a doozy. You're going to want to see this quarterfinals pool. We'll see you guys in 16 minutes for that.
See you guys.
Hello, everybody. Once again, I am back with Orca yet again, and I hope you all are ready for the quarterfinals map pool showcase, because that is all we have left for this weekend. Like I said, I am back. Toph Daddy joined again with Orca to commentate this. How is it going, my man?
It's going all right. Just chilling after that match. Only ended 15 minutes ago. Feels like an eternity. But excited to get these maps out, talk about them a little bit with Toph here, get them into your guys' hands so you can play and get ready for your matches next weekend.
Yeah, I am kind of excited to show off some of these maps because this is a pretty difficult pool. You know, we've seen in recent tournaments that these map pools have been just getting brutal. Like Soft has gone so far and above what we usually expect for difficulty to kind of match Speed of Light 2 that happened a couple years back. And that tournament also just absolutely destroying some players with the difficulty that it got to. So in quarterfinals, we'll be seeing some pretty difficult maps, and I'm really excited. You got anything to say before we start digging right into this?
Yeah, just saying, like how you said, maps overall in Mania, I mean, the pools have just been getting harder and harder as players have been getting better. So maybe as a player like me who's been stagnant for a while, or like if you're just spectating, it could seem that this pool maybe is just, way too hard for quarterfinals. But I promise you, like, teams have been getting a lot better, and so it's important to make sure that we scale stuff with this. So I guess without further ado, we can hop right into it.
Absolutely, and we'll get into map number 1 once we bring this up, and it'll be our Speedy Jumpstream map. A collab between Mint and Hannah is going to be Ram, and it is 1.1x. So this is going to be a 244 BPM Jumpstream map, potentially a little bit slower than some people might have expected. Last year's Speedier JS map was about 250 BPM in comparison. But also keep in mind there is an extra pool this year, so the curve is going to be a little bit slower than you might expect right away, but it will end at a much harder spot than what we expected. Even just as small as a 6 BPM gap is, that'll equate to an even larger gap between what we see from the final pool this year and what was the final pool last year.
Yeah, this map only jumping is about, I think, 10 BPM, a little bit higher than Streamy Heart.
Yeah, about 13 BPM of a jump here from Streaming Heart to this. And we've had an interesting mapper jump between the jump stream maps. We started in round of 32 with a Mint map, into round of 16 with a Hannah map, and now we have a collab between the two for the quarterfinals jump stream map. So pretty interesting. So the players will be pretty comfortable, or at least familiar with the patterning expectations. This one just really, really dense in comparison to what we were seeing from either Streaming Heart or Econite Borderline from the previous 2 rounds. But we're still seeing those trilly, like we have those one-hand trills, the repetitive patterns, the two-hand trills just embedded between all of these jump stream patterns. And this map also really short at only a minute and a half.
Yeah, very short. Last pool overall, like round of 16, a lot of the maps were really short. Looking at a couple of these as well, still fairly short, a little bit under 2, but overall some of the longer ones do get a little bit like this, hopping to 230, which is about average.
But we have our hybrid, or our first hybrid, coming in. I think this one is going to be a little bit more on that straightforward side of hybrids as far as those go. I think we can compare this potentially to Guden's hybrid from the previous round, who was more focused on streaming and having LNs interwoven between them. But I do think the LNs don't get quite as hard in this one as they did, comparative to the rest of the map. This one's just very, very fast with a lot of really awkward polyrhythms in certain spots.
And inverse shields here as well, actually.
Yeah, also worth noting is that some people might recognize this song and, the mapper from the Matern map that was used in round of 16 for Soft Sticks. This is a little bit of a buffed version. You might notice it's a little bit on the denser side, has some extra polyrhythms throughout, and some of the LN patterns are certainly a little bit more difficult to get down. So don't worry about thinking that this might be a little bit on the easy side. It is certainly not.
Yep, 222 BPM. And like I was saying earlier with Link, being a little bit longer, but with, OD8 kind of typical for hybrid, I think, I would say. At least for being more rice biased.
definitely. I do see OD8 coming around for these kinds of maps a lot, but like I said, this is pretty polyrhythm heavy. We see a lot of changing rhythms throughout those bursts, and a lot throughout already consistent streaming sections, so that can be pretty hard to keep a consistent accuracy on overall. And this is about 2.5 minutes, a little bit on the longer side compared to your average length of the hybrid being at around that 2-minute mark generally. So you'll have to keep this up for a little bit longer, and this ending quarter is definitely going to push you to your limits, especially on the long note side of things.
Yeah, it's very important too with that long jump stream we just saw coming into those LNs as well. It's really important to keep that control, because I think with a lot of these longer rice sections, it's easy to lose focus, and then you're kind of in the wrong mindset for stuff like just happened with that LN section and this LN section.
Yeah, this one in particular is so hard to keep your consistency and focus on. And it just throws everything at you to the end, and then has a little bit of this final stream and an abrupt ending to map number 2, which will be our first hybrid, and we'll get to move to our second rice pick into some technical stuff.
Yeah, Ego here. 141 being a song from Sound Voltex. So we'll definitely see a lot of really funky rhythms. Rate it up a bit, you need that consistency. A lot of these broken streams here, definitely able to act very well, but you really need to have the capabilities to hit those more chilly patterns.
Yeah, definitely. And this will mirror a little bit from like what we saw from round of 32 in Black Lawn Finale. Same mapper as well. So we'll have some similar patterns, just on a much faster basis. 271 BPM broken jump stream. And that can be really rough already, seeing this fast of streaming in quarterfinals. Also noteworthy about this pool, we had 3 tech picks, or I guess miscellaneous rice picks, in the previous pool. That is going to be reduced back down to 2 because a new category of rice maps is being introduced in quarters, and we'll get to that later on in the pool when the map comes around. So the tech picks for this time around will be somewhat mirroring what we saw from round of 32 on both fronts. We're going to have a lighter tech that's, this one being more of a broken jump stream-esque pick, and then we'll have a much heavier one later on and down the line.
Yep, and definitely after the showcase as well, feel free to talk about it in the Map Pool feedback channel in the MWC server if you're not already in there. We love to talk with the players about, what we're thinking behind these pools, the logistics behind how we actually choose these maps and custom map stuff. So very interested myself to hear your guys' opinions on these.
Yeah,
we're coming
absolutely.
About to the end of this pick here.
Yeah, we did see actually an interesting section there towards the end before that final bit that was just straight 271 BPM jump stream. And that is really fast. We've got our first long note pick in here, though. There's going to be Desperado Waltz, and this is going to be our density map of the pool at OD 7.6. And this is going to be a 172 BPM, largely jump stream focused. I mean, not really jump stream in a lot of cases. It's pretty straightforward, but it's super inverse oriented. By far the densest long note pick that we have seen so far in these pools.
Yeah, this artist, Panorari, I don't believe they're in-house for Mani, but they do Sound Voltex stuff, and they do a lot of piano epic music. So this is definitely right up the alley for a pick exactly like this, with the LN control, a little bit of inverse.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one, a little bit on the shorter side, 2 minutes and 15 seconds long. And what we've seen so far is pretty similar to what we expect for the rest of the chart. There is a section later on that gets even denser that is just straight up 172 BPM jump stream inverse, and that can definitely be pretty brutal for some players. The gap's a little bit big on this because of the slower BPM for the inverse, and I can definitely see some players having some issues with this section in particular just because of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely brutal here. Definitely a step up from all of the LN picks from last pool. Just bumping it up a little bit in speed and density.
And we're going into the final third after that section. We're getting some faster streaming with these denser long note patterns, and just going to keep maintaining this difficulty with a couple of difficult patterns coming up. I believe it's just a little bit of a fast section coming up, and a little bit of that brokenness of inverse or density long notes that can be pretty pretty rough to stay consistent on.
There's that long index finger trail with the schlongs. That looks brutal.
Yeah, luckily Scorpio 2 actually had an update, so you won't be column locking on those kinds of patterns if you mess them up, but it is still definitely something people can mess up on. And that trill.
And now
outside columns, Lacrima trill. We love to see it.
Yeah, definitely a very tough pick here.
Absolutely. And we'll be getting right into the next rice pick in this pool. We have Fiona, and this is going to be our primary stream speed based pick. 157 BPM, and that equates to about 314 BPM streams. So we're making quite a jump, another 20 BPM jump. But in this case, there's a couple of jumps thrown into some of these streams, and that brings the equivalent up potentially to about 325-ish for some of these stream patterns. And I need to mention that these patterns are very draining in some spots. This intro in particular can be very devastating.
Yeah, decent amount of wrist rolly stuff, then throws in with some trill and like, you know, having to kind of hit like mini jack type patterns with your wrist.
Yeah, this opening section being a little bit more on the technical side of stream patterns. But we've gotten...
Ignore that.
No worries, but we're getting into the mainstream section. We see a couple of camel jacks like we were seeing from Set the World on Fire, but definitely a little bit less dense on that respect, transitioning into a more straightforward set of streams. Just a couple to get through each time you're going through these streams, and then you'll be pretty much home free with some much easier patterns as we're getting into the final third of this map now.
Yeah, definitely this map giving you a couple of small breaks here and there, and then throwing in very, very dense stuff. Like you said with those jumps, it may not seem like it makes a lot of a difference, you know, as you're reading this, you kind of just read the whole thing in single stream and you're just playing it however, like with the flow. But having those jumps can really throw off how your wrists are moving, and so it's very easy to either fall behind or maybe hit a little too early and get out of sync with the chart.
Yeah, absolutely. But this ending slows down a little bit, has some slightly easier patterns, and we'll just finish off our speed map just barely under that 2-minute mark, but it's not going to be easy for many players.
This next song here, actually, this is a very popular song to be used for a lot of tiebreakers, I know in the past, but this here is not going to be our tiebreaker.
It's going to be actually a cut version of the song made by Mysterion. It's going to be a hybrid that dips a little bit more heavily into that long note kind of aspect. I think this is going to be a more heavy long note hybrid than what we saw out of Matern. But it's also going to add some particularly technical elements to a lot of different cases. We're going to have a lot of shields throughout this, and those are going to be very, very difficult to coordinate. We're already starting to see some.
Yeah, we saw a couple of inverse shield stuff with the last hybrid, but this chart definitely making a lot more use of that for its patterning. Throwing in some really brutal stuff here.
Yeah, and keep in mind that BPM of 184, so that means those mini jacks, when they come around, or the shields, I should say, are at 184 BPM. And, you know, I think one of the biggest problems, like, with trying to play maps like this with these kinds of shield patterns is that when you're having such fast mini jacks and transitioning into long notes off of them, it's so easy for you to just lift your finger off of the long note because of the motion that you have to do for such fast mini jacks.
That wrist movement is very, very imperative. Yeah, it's super easy if you're holding something on one finger on a hand. It's super hard to be able to control that for the rest of the patterning. And so the players that are really proficient at that are maybe going to be a little bit more comfortable in this, but the players that don't have that experience playing charts like this are really going to struggle with that.
Yeah, not to mention that some of these LN patterns are also a little bit tricky on the coordination aspect outside of those shield patterns. We're seeing some gaps sometimes. We're seeing some transitions into inverse that can be pretty hard to get good accuracy on with that, especially with that OD 7.5. But this map will come and go very quickly. We're already almost out of this. Some very short maps coming out of this right now. And I think I'll just let you go for this next one.
Yeah, we're going to hop into our first SV pick here. This is going to be Line Zeta by Alex Dunk. So, very first Alex Dunk map here, actually an MWC. So, this is going to be his debut. A little bit of a I would say it's normal length OD6 here, actually. We wanted to lower this because the combo gets very, very high. But overall, I would say this is more the reading based for players that want to use that terminology. But the rhythms get very, very intense. You can see there are a little bit of BPM line gimmicks.
Yeah, and you're saying about
swingy.
Yeah, you're saying about the rhythms, it does keep that swingy rhythm through it a lot of that time. And even though the swing is pretty consistent, it keeps with that 1/3 swing like all the time with all of its patterns. It can still be pretty easy to trip up on those, especially if you read them as 1/2 rhythms. And that can happen pretty easily despite those gaps, just because it can be a little bit more comfortable to play them as 1/4. And I could see a lot of players having a little bit of trouble keeping their accuracy straight. But like you said, a little bit of a lower OD, so that the swing rhythm is not going to affect people quite as much as it possibly could, but you still do have to focus on it to make sure that you're keeping your accuracy and consistency throughout this map.
Yeah, and some of the decision making that came into this OD too is like a section like this where it kind of switches rhythm a little bit, and also you can see the use of LNs throughout this map. Very controversial with LNs and SV. We made sure to kind of limit it to stuff that is, releasing on the downbeat, or it itself is a part of that swing rhythm, right? So it's nothing that's too ambiguous.
Yeah, you're seeing these long notes commonly just end when you're hitting another note, so you can use that kind of motion to know when to release the note instead of relying on the visual aspects of the SVs for the releases, at least.
Yep. And so there is a little bit of LN skill being tested here, but hopefully it's not something that Rice players wouldn't be able to handle for the most part. And so it comes down to your reading, right? If you're able to lock into these swing rhythms and learn this. I love those BPM gimmicks there that Alex Stump did.
Ooh, those teleports. Some of this stuff is going to be hard to predict, especially if we see some sight reads coming in. Those long notes with those BPM gimmicks can be extremely difficult to read through the proper, release and hit points.
Yeah, and actually in the background there, you see this background actually was custom made by Alex specifically for this map.
Yeah, and that'll finish off SV1, and we'll get into our new category, and this is going to be our Chord Jack map for introduced as a category starting in quarterfinals, and we're starting pretty difficult. I just want to say that right now, 140 BPM Chord Jacks is no joke in Justify My Love here.
Yeah, important to note to OD9 as well. And like you had mentioned earlier, right, this is the Chord Jack pick, which is just now being introduced in quarterfinals. And there's a lot of kind of, don't know necessarily the correct word, but a lot of people talking about, where Chord Jacks have a place in MWC. And we just felt like this pick here, starting at quarterfinals, was kind of the optimal place to start, where it didn't become too much of an unhealthy act battle with people, battling on like single-digit, low, double-digit perfects, right? We think this is the correct difficulty to start with picks like this.
Yeah, and you are exactly correct. We don't want to see players really battling on the accuracy side of things, though we certainly will be seeing that with how good some of the players are. But as a starting point for the Chord Jack section, I'm certain we're going to see a little bit more of a competitive streak from this map for many of these matches, just based on how hard it can be to full combo this by itself at that 140 BPM. And we're getting into the second half, and we have one more chorus left. And that second chorus is very hard. It increases the density quite a bit and makes it a little bit harder to keep up with it, and definitely going to be a point to watch out for in those matches, especially with nerves riding high for many of these players in such high stakes matches.
Yeah, Chord Jack picks historically definitely battle on the nerves, because you just have to be so much more consistent, right, than other picks, because players are going to put up some insane scores. I'm sure we'll see that. A couple of players on Brazil I know really good at Chord Jack stuff. USA definitely have a lot of good players, and just in general, players that are able to handle 140 and above Chord Jack really well are definitely going to put some great scores on this map.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we were saying, this does get a little bit denser. We have a couple of flams there, but they should not affect your accuracy too much. If you're able to combo through it, that's going to be very good for your team. But still, 140 BPM Chord Jacks in quarterfinals. We are not messing around with this to start off.
Yeah, this is going to be another...
I heard you wanted more sound Voltex. A very well-known map on these fronts. Daisy Cutter 1.1 being one of our wildcard long note pick for the quarterfinals pool. So a little bit faster than most people are fully acquainted with, but I'm sure most people will know what this is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Daisy Cutter being an infamously technical chart in Sound Voltex, and it's going to be basically identical here. Very technical. You see with these inverse patterns and also the schlongs earlier on with the little jacks and stuff. It's just a controlled nightmare.
Yeah, it definitely is. Those jacks pushing I don't actually know how fast they are. I think they're just 105 BPM. So they're not exactly jack patterns, but when you're trying to coordinate those around, almost inverse-ish patterns with some awkward gaps in certain spots, that they can definitely mess you up pretty bad. And especially this middle section, very difficult to keep the consistency with the release. And this final third has some ridiculous rhythms that are very, very hard to keep yourself straight on.
Yep. These in the Sound Voltex chart, it's knob crossovers, and here we have 3 column LNs with some really, really weird rhythmic modulation on that last column as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of these ending patterns can also be pretty difficult just to keep yourself consistent on overall as you're practicing. Pretty easy to mind block some of them, so you got to be careful. I would not be surprised to see a whole lot of mirrors on this map for the coming weekend.
Yeah, we only saw a couple players preferring to mirror some stuff earlier, but with hand bias charts, even just a little bit, as well, people like to mirror it, but definitely probably going to see mind blocks here, so...
Yeah, we'll have to see how players go with this, but we'll move from there into another hybrid map, a custom map made by Mint, Azure Vixen Arbitrator difficulty. And this is our final of our 3 hybrids. Another one that's a little bit more on that 50-50 side of things, has more LNs than what we saw from Matern. This one kind of has less of like hybrid sections and more of like a separation between doing difficult long note patterns and having to play difficult rice patterns separately. So it's not like combining them in the same way as we saw from Summer Mysterion's map. It's more so just balancing being able to do hard rice patterns alone and being able to do hard long note patterns alone.
Yeah, certainly, and that's an important distinction to make for teams, because it is totally a whole different skill set from being able to play, both rice and LN inside of a hybrid versus being able to play them together with patterns that really test both at the same time. Like we've said earlier, it's about that control, like within your wrist, being able to, hold on one finger while still playing with the other without letting go too early, and vice versa.
Yeah, and we're seeing some major long note sections come in now with some little rice transitions between the more difficult LN patterns. And I want to say that we have these kinds of like going back and forth here in the beginning. The ending sort of brings that long note structure back towards the end, but gets even a little bit harder than what we're seeing here.
Yeah, picking up a little bit here, or calming down and then picking up after this section. So a little bit of LN, maybe build up your accuracy a little bit here before we go right back into it.
Yeah, giving yourself a little bit of a break before the more intense sections start coming back up. A little bit of a transition. We're starting to see some staggered releases in these long notes. Gonna have to start paying attention a little more to these on that OD 7.5 especially. Not too much leniency as far as the LN accuracy is going to be going for this, and then more of this kind of technical trilly transition to get us into the final section, which like I said, brings back some really heavy long note density here.
Oh yeah, hopping into the full LN section here. Actually, I mean, coming into this, you don't want to use all your stamina on those really fast rice patterns, and especially those like jump shields and stuff. Just going right into this, you're going to need a lot of control to be able to hit this whole section, going straight out into some rice stuff, and then right back into it again.
Yeah, absolutely. We're kind of transitioning out of that, and we have a few more long note patterns as we're getting into the final stretches of this map. Definitely going to want to make sure that you have your LN skill up to snuff if you want to pick this against your opponents. But, we mentioned in the matches a couple of times that, in these easier rounds, it was common for players in 1v1s to pick hybrids, but in team environments, it's a lot harder to defend picking hybrids because you need to have 3 solid all-rounders to be able to be confident in it. And this is definitely the kind of map you're going to need that same team structure to be able to pick.
Certainly.
But we've got
this.
Yeah, we've got Breaking Rules, a map by Autotelic Brown or Alice on 1.1x difficulty, 187 BPM. This is our second tech pick, the second and final tech pick. Like I said, the third being replaced by that Chord Jack category with Justify My Love. But this is going to be a much, much heavier tech pick than what we saw from Ego earlier.
Yeah, this is definitely a classic song if you're in the money space, but here it's going to take a similar moniker as the more technical stuff. A lot of mini jacks here and there with bursts in between, as we can see. Yeah, you want to have those really fast snaps down mentally to be able to accuracy those.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one of these maps where the mini jacks are pretty fast, like earlier on in one of the hybrids, I believe they were about 181. This one focusing solely on that kind of mini jack motion along with the bursts throughout. But this time at 187 BPM, and there are a couple of triple jacks strewn throughout this map. So definitely something that the players are going to have to take note of when they are trying to decide whether they want to pick this or practice this. And especially deciding mirror, because we're seeing a couple of those 3-note jacks on the left hand, but we're also seeing a couple on the right. So balancing which side you want to be able to focus those longer jacks on is super important for deciding whether to use mirror or not.
Yeah, certainly. Players only got a little bit of a break there after like the halfway point, and we hop right back into it with some light stuff like we've seen before, just typical little bursts here and there, but mostly calm here until the end, and there's a little bit of an end section.
Yep, just blasting you a little bit more with those mini jacks coming out of the ending. Some triple jacks to just mess you up right there. That is our final tech pick. We'll move into some more rice, and I believe the final rice pick of this pool, NP Addiction by Valedict, and it is going to be our stamina consistency map of this pool.
Yeah, coming a lot shorter than Free L-Town from the last pool, only a little bit above 3 minutes here. I believe still being the longest free mod pick.
This is still pretty rough. Fast. Yeah, 225, only a 5 BPM jump from the previous round. We did see a slightly larger jump, 13 in the speed jump stream, but very, very important to note about this map is that there are fewer breaks for less time, and also this map is so much denser with some pretty rough patterning throughout it. Lots of those one-handed trills, and we're seeing that right now. This density is going to destroy some people.
Yeah, this patterning, like especially with these dance streams as well, you know, having jumps every other note, it gets really, really draining.
It's not just every other note. It is sometimes more than every other note. Sometimes there are 2 jumps in a row. That can be a lot to handle, and there's a lot of one-handed motion in general from these patterns, and that kind of motion in particular is going to be super, super stamina draining.
Yeah, and just breaking that monotony sometimes as well with some small single stream bursts that we saw a little bit ago. Like you were saying, yeah, these breaks really, like, you do not get a lot of time to breathe here. Even going to like some broken sections like this, and then right back into it.
Yeah, we're about to hit that halfway mark, and this is, I believe, the only break you get in this map. Yeah. But even then, there are some awkward rhythms that you have to follow, and it doesn't even last that long, so you're going to have to get ready as this longer stream starts and transitions into the second half stream section.
Yep, like you were saying, just some like pickup syncopated stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still like this weird, you know, syncopated, like awkward rhythms. Because with a lot of stamina picks, you know, you get locked into that 16th note grid. But then when it breaks it up, it reminds you that, you know, you still have to stay focused. You still have to perform on the entire map. And then, yeah, we jump right back into it. Still a bunch of these, like, split trill sections and stuff.
Yeah, the patterning in this ending is a little bit easier than what we were seeing in the intro, but still not something that you want to stop paying attention for, especially since this jump stream effectively just goes on until the end, with just a couple of breaks where the jump stream just breaks for a couple of notes, like right there, but it just keeps going and increases the density continuously until we get some more of these patterns and transition back into some more intro-esque patterns just to really kill your stamina when you thought it was about to be over.
Yeah. Yeah, our replayer Papyrus here. being able to hold on stamina-wise pretty well. But I mean, around 99.6, I would say that's probably what's to be expected from the average teams, you know, that are going to be playing these pools in quarterfinals. Probably a little bit above average, actually.
But yeah, similar to what we saw from Free L-Town, you get a little bit more of that syncopated outro before finishing off. Nice break in the notes there at the end, but this shouldn't catch anyone off guard. That is going to finish off our Rice pool, and we have one more long note pick left in this pool, and you might notice that we're missing our release pick so far, and already you should be able to tell Peta 1.05 is going to be filling that niche for us.
Yeah, a bunch of staggered releases you can see here. Staggered LN heads as well here in the intro. Going right into it with a lot more control-y patterns. Yeah, pretty, I would say, run-of-the-mill for what you would expect for more release-focused pick here. But a lot of these, like, you know, staggered and a lot of those shlongs can come super off-guard as well for a lot of players, and so the pattern can get very awkward if you're not super comfortable with picks that are similar to this.
Yeah, absolutely, and you might want to make some comparisons to what we saw from Sludge, and there definitely are some potential comparisons you can make. You can already see like a bunch of those staggered releases and slower kind of rhythms that we saw from Sludge. A little bit faster in this one, so it's a little bit more focused on keeping yourself going through the faster patterns, but you still have those staggered releases that are extremely difficult. And again, OD 7.5, so not much leniency in terms of keeping your accuracy on this release pick.
Yeah, Sludge definitely having a lot more like joint releases together in this, focusing more on those finger independent patterns. Lots of like pickups with those schlongs, being able to make sure you're keeping track of everything. Because it's very easy to just drop a schlong here or there, or release early on something if you don't have the finger independency to be able to control everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, we are only halfway through this map now. Look, if you notice, this is about just over 3 minutes long of a map. So definitely the longest of our long note picks, and especially having to worry about that coordination and release aspect that can be extremely mentally taxing. So it's going to be pretty important to make sure that you're able to keep your focus for the entire 3 minutes as we start to transition into this last third and see some more staggered releases here.
Yeah, this pick definitely tests more of your mental fortitude rather than actual physical abilities, though LN with physical abilities is still fairly important, but stamina definitely not as much of a factor here. The patterning not being too dense with the actual LN heads.
Yeah, but definitely still no slouch when it comes to some of these players' ability to keep up with some of these release patterns. I could definitely see a lot of players having trouble keeping their accuracy up while still being able to full combo. So this is going to be a big game of accuracy as opposed to just making sure that you can keep your full combos going, like we were saying with Sludge in a lot of these matches this past weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, same with this map being almost, twice as long as Sludge. Yeah, players will definitely, like, a miss here or there won't be the end of the world. You'll definitely have plenty of map to be able to bring that combo back, and I can definitely see a lot of teams putting up some really good scores. Excited to see maybe some comebacks, too, as well, with this being a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's going to be our last LN pick. We have one regular pick in the pool, and I'll, again, let you take over for this one.
Yeah, so a little bit of jump scare here. Cover your ears.
Very scary.
So this map was a little bit more of a fill-in. We did a lot of work. I know me, Walter, a couple other people did a lot of work on this to get it to kind of fill in this second SV spot. A lot more memo. This section right here just being reading, and then it jumps into more memo-based stuff here. I'd say practice-wise, a lot of players, I was able to get a V1 SS fairly quickly. However, the problem comes with being able to read this stuff with, these patterns obviously not being normalized. So being able to really lock into that rhythm and ratio this stuff is very tough.
That part, I think, is going to get a lot of people on the accuracy side of things. But what you'll notice a lot about this map and a few pretty major sections is that there is some very extreme slow jam happening, and pretty much the entire last quarter is going to follow suit with that. But even despite that, there's a very low note count outside of that. We're only at 389 combo halfway through. And I honestly, this whole map, kind of like when you're talking about these long note sections, reminds me of the quarterfinals SV pick from last year, the memorization one. Massacre, I think it was?
Yeah, Massacre. Massacre had some like BPM line gimmicks. This definitely relies a little bit more on that rhythmic difficulty. But yeah, I mean, falling at 2 minutes 30 for an SV pick, it'll have a little bit of a lower combo count. But I'd say, honestly, I've seen this can be quite difficult. Another jump scare here.
Yeah, very scary yet again. But
not Halloween quite yet.
But because of the low note count, if you, like, even one miss is going to have a massive effect on your overall score. Like, 800, like, you miss, even before the 400 combo mark, that's going to have almost as significant of an impact on your score as it would if you were past the 400 combo mark, just because of how short this is. And if you miss after the 400 mark, oh
yeah,
good luck.
It's tough. Yeah, this ending here, nothing too funny. I'm just closing it out. Definitely one thing to say is to try to section this off. This map comes in very distinct sections. Very slow, Ellen, here. Please don't miss on that.
Please don't miss on that. I've missed on one of those before.
I've also missed on
a full combo on not even an SV map. It was very sad. World Cup sad. Shoutouts to Hibi Daraki no Mi from 2019. Anyways, that is our full free mod pool. That is all the maps that we'll be playing for the regular match. We have one more map left in this pool to go, and that's going to be our tiebreaker. It's another custom that we're seeing, a Guden and Mint custom. No more Toph tiebreakers. What is this?
Oh no!
Wow,
it's a disaster.
I can't believe it. They really shafted me here. Not that I had anything that they could use. Anyways, this is gonna be Kyo. 9 stars, map by Guden and Mint. More Camila coming in. This map is so hard. It's so difficult. If you thought Discontrolled was hard, I don't even know what to say about this.
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, the song being called 9 stars, as opposed to, I believe Piggy has a map for this that is actually 9 stars. This map is not 9 stars, it's 5.5. However, for people that are well versed in the tournament scene, you will know that 5.5 stars is as misleading is honestly not even strong enough a word for that.
Oh, don't worry about misleading. I just need everyone to keep in mind that the highest star rating map in the pool outside of this tiebreaker was about 5.1.
Yeah.
So already the star rating should be telling you that this is a step above what you were seeing from the previous pool. And we'll get into, out of the intro, some pretty difficult transition patterns, but into a pretty hybridy and staggered long note section with some really rough bursts and some very coordination heavy long notes transitioning between the patterns. And this is already looking real rough.
Yeah, testing your physicality very early on as well. I mean, if you look down in the bottom right here, length almost 7 minutes here, twice as long as, well, about almost twice as long. About 2.5 minutes longer than the last tiebreaker. So yeah, conserving that physicality is going to be very important.
Almost 7 minutes. We're really bumping up the length of these tiebreakers now that we're starting to eliminate teams. You're not, and I mean, like, Discontrolled Galaxy and Big Daddy had their stamina-esque, requirements, but nothing like what is needed for this. And I think with the addition of a few extra categories and stamina really starting to mean stamina instead of just consistency, this is really important, that it's like keeping you on your toes for as long as possible and making sure that the team that's able to keep their focus and stamina up for the longest time is the one that's going to be able to move on from the matches that get this far.
Yeah, and it's definitely not enough. I mean, if we're talking about stamina, it's not just that the song is long, right? I mean, 7 minutes is fairly long. That doesn't necessarily mean it's stamina intensive. But a lot of these like little bursts here and there just intermittently throughout, followed by like Ellen control stuff, that is like peak stamina draining.
Yeah, not to mention that this is 242 BPM. That means that those bursts, even at how short some of them are reaching that peak BPM of about 360 BPM, which, if you remember the speed of the actual stream map we had, that's about 50 BPM higher, so those bursts are no joke.
Yeah, actually, earlier, too, we didn't mention it, I believe this is the first map that has had a miss in the replay for the showcase. Camellia missing on his own map.
Oh no, how tragic.
Yeah, breaking his own fingers here.
But that's okay. This map, it just goes to show how difficult this map actually is.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of like a perfect lead into what we expect out of semis, which should be roughly, determined or roughly equivalent to the difficulty we're seeing here on quarterfinal. So I guess have fun trying to figure out how difficult these pools are going to start getting soon.
Yeah, you will miss. You will get misses on these maps. It is not really expected for players, be FCing everything anymore. If that wasn't already expected, I mean, the maps so far have been so hard. I can't believe that we're expecting players to FC any of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are going to be players that just absolutely do that. We're getting into a little bit more of a awkward wild card-esque LN section with some jacks on opposing hands. Those can be pretty difficult with some very, very quick LN inverse bursts there. But we are still only halfway through. We still have so much left in this chart, and I believe once we transition out of this long note area, we'll be able to start seeing some more jump stream section, more jump stream and jump stream focus section. But within the jump stream that we'll be seeing, there's actually some surprise bursts that make it real awkward.
Yeah.
So we'll have a small break here to transition into that section before we actually see it.
Yeah, get a little bit of chance to breathe, build up your combo a lot here until we get right back into it. Like you were saying, awkward. That's definitely a word that comes up a lot with talking about tiebreakers. Because it's not just that it's necessarily going to be like a hybrid-esque map that's long, right? You want to make patterns that really test like the limits of technicality and physicality combined. And so you see a lot of awkward patterning here.
Yeah, and this is kind of similar to what we saw from Ram. I mean, it's technically a little bit slower, but like I said, there are a couple of slight bursts that are going to mess you up a little bit, change the rhythms around for this jump stream section, keep you on your toes, as well as those LN but the LN transitions to really keep you on your toes with respect to the speed of this jump stream. And then these bursts with, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. He's helping us transition into the final quarter of the map, but just absolutely ridiculous what we're seeing here. And keep in mind, the miss that happened earlier was at about 2,000 combo, so we're already at the 6,000 combo mark, and we still have a quarter of the map left.
Yep. Yeah, and you got a little breather there before you get right back into this absolutely insane LN section here with a bunch of slongs, intermittent with some finishing rice releases. These are absolutely insane to read. This is going to be a super big reading challenge for a lot of players here.
Yeah, absolutely. And this LN structure kind of defines what we should be expecting from the rest of this tiebreaker as we start approaching the ending ever so slowly. But these LNs really never give up. We have a little bit of this rice transition, but was just going to push us back into some more long note structures.
Yeah, we saw some 3-column LN stuff earlier getting into this. But like you were saying, yeah, pretty much same old going towards the end of this pick. Nothing like too out of the ordinary from what we've already seen earlier in the map. Just finishing out here. And by the end of this, oh wow, more misses actually. Was not expecting that. I haven't seen this replay, but yeah, I mean 99.4% is that's gonna be an insane score for players.
99.4 is really good. Camellia, sorry, this is actually Mysterion. I just need to make sure that that's known because I want everyone to know that this is a score by Mysterion. And it's still 99.41. That's insane. Good luck. I just like really, if you get to this tiebreaker, good luck.
Yeah, don't break your hands too hard.
But that's going to finish off our tiebreaker for the quarterfinals pool, and that will end out all of the maps that we'll be seeing our players duke it out against each other with next weekend for another insane weekend full of matches. I believe it'll be another 16 matches for quarterfinals to see who makes it into the top 12, makes it into the semifinals round. We already have a few people a few teams guaranteed to make it to semifinals. The ones who have managed to stay in the winners bracket up to this point will stick around for one more week after this, but that battle in the losers bracket is going to be tense for sure. Not to mention that some of the teams in the winners bracket are just absolutely ridiculous still. So definitely not going to be a weekend you're going to want to miss. But I'm so excited to watch these players.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to stick around. I'm excited to get these maps into the hands of the players, actually. I'm excited to hear feedback as well. Make sure, just voice whatever you think about it. We're still building pools as we go, so it's important to be able to hear what the players think about it as well. And so I'm excited to hear that. Definitely excited to watch matches. I want to see players absolutely destroy these maps or get destroyed by these maps.
Yeah, well, it'll only take time for us to figure out which one of those two things will be happening to which teams here. But with that, that's as much as I think we need to make sure is known about the tournament. But if I was going to support the players, do you think there's a way that I could do that?
I think that there is a way that you can do that. If you go and check on the OSU website, there are two different things that you can do. First of all, the prize pool for this tournament. Baseline was $2,000. However, it is open to community donations, and 100% of the money that you give to the prize pool goes right back to the players. And so if you want to see this prize pool get bigger and bigger, then make sure to go and donate. And other than that, you can also go on the website and purchase a team banner for yourself, and it will be displayed on your OSU profile for everyone to see. Those cost about $2.50. Me, myself, am rocking the Philippines banner.
Go Philippines. Not biased, by the way. But yeah, we got those two. We've got the Open Collective and the banner system that has always been in these World Cups. Both are linked in chat right now. You can go to the OSU website and find them there as well. But with that, I think we are all good to finish off this round of 16 weekend and sign off until we see you all back for an hopefully insane quarterfinals weekend coming up. We hope to see you guys there.
See ya.